Hey, this is Brad Block, host of The Physician's Guide to Doctoring. This is a personal and professional development podcast for physicians where we have experts on the show that try to teach us everything we should have been learning while we were memorizing Krebs cycle. Welcome back to the podcast. On today's episode, we have someone that I met at Peter Kim's Passive Income MD. It was a great networking opportunity. She gave me a lot of great information that helped me grow my podcast. And so now I'm hoping she's going to share the same information with you and help you. So we have Dr. Tsung. She is a NASA flight surgeon, critical care emergency medicine physician, and a time creator coach and podcast host at Productivity MD. So she uses AI-driven tools and time creation strategies to help high-performing professionals reclaim their time, sharpen their focus, and reduce stress. So the first time I heard this, I was like, wait, she's a NASA flight surgeon, and she's helping you make more time. Does it have something to do with time dilation? No, it has nothing to do with moving it near the speed of light. It is finding more time in your day. That'd be intuitive to most people. So Dr. Tsung, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's about, I say to people, creating more time. You become a time creator to create more free time for yourself.
Or like they say in the House of Representatives, I'm reclaiming my time, right? If someone interrupts them, reclaiming my time. Okay, so tell us, how did you get into this? What is your Productivity MD origin story?
I think when I was thinking about diving into coaching, I actually asked people what my superpower is like at that time, people who have known me for 10 plus years, because I was thinking, I like functional medicine, I like nutrition, I love lifting and working out, I can do productivity, I can be efficient, I can goal set, etc. So I can do all of that. But I originally branded myself as a peak performance coach, but that is too vague. When I asked my friends who have known me for a long time, and people who are listening to this, if you're trying to figure out what your superpower is, ask people who know you really well, because a lot of times when you can do something, it seems almost normal and natural to you, but it's actually not. So when I asked them, they said that often, like, what would you come to me for? Or what do you think my superpower is? What would you pay me for? Often it is like, you're the most efficient person I know, and you can get a lot done with the same amount of time. That's how I started diving into essentially the Productivity MD and coaching others to become time creators themselves.
Okay, so you had already been coached yourself, you were into coaching, and in that journey of yours, one of the questions that you asked yourself and then asked other people is, what do I do really well, better than other people? And that's where efficiency. And so that's when you said, okay, you know what? I want to coach other people in something that I've discovered for myself. Okay, love it.
And then one thing for your audience, actually, if you don't know or you're like confused about your superpowers, there's something called a high five test. H-I-G-H, 5, number 5 test. If you Google it, answer some questions, and it will come up with your top 5 traits of your superpowers. And that combination is what makes you who you are. And I'm a catalyst. I put things into action. I'm a timekeeper. I change it to time creator. I'm also a coach, etc. So it can give you a direction if you don't know where you are.
Yeah. So things seem to come in 5s then, right? Because that's the high 5. And I was just about to ask you about something I've heard you talk about, which is the 5 freedoms. And then you also later, we're going to be talking about the 5 priorities. So a lot of things coming in 5s here.
I guess so that because I use neuroscience so that your brain, it can stay focused. If we have more than 5 things to remember or think about, we're often scattered and we're actually not making progress. It's slower progress, actually.
All right. We'll love it. We can count them on one hand. So let's talk about the 5 freedoms. What are those?
So that is my North Star. I've said it, but also I've let it go, which I'll tell you a little bit more about. Time freedom and your vitality freedom, which is essentially your health, your mental health, emotional freedom to having like a Zen-like, monk-like state to stressful situations. Or maybe like when you're kids, we were just talking about this before, like smears poop on the walls. My 2-year-old be like, okay, we're just going to have to clean it later. So financial freedom is something that we often talk about. And then geographic freedom is being able to live anywhere we want. And I set those goals as my North Star. After my daughter was born, when she was 8 weeks, I had a realization and I actually let it go. I let go of those goals. I set it, it's still there, but I let go of the urgency, the timeline, because it was causing me intrinsic stress and urgency and causing me not to be present with my 8-week-old. And when I was feeding her, I was thinking about, oh, I need to look up the podcast guest's bio, or I need to read that coaching call I haven't read. Why don't you just go to sleep? Because I have all these things to do. And I was missing my present moment with my 8-week-old. And I urge you guys to set your goals, but also don't let that internal sense of deadline and urgency take you away from the present moment with the people you love.
Oh yeah, that's definitely happened with me, especially with the podcast, because part of what I want to do with it is I want to grow it to the point that it earns revenue so that I can scale back on my hours. Why do I want to scale back on my hours? So I can spend more time with my kids. But then the podcast was growing to the point where it was taking away from my time with the kids because it hadn't gotten to the point where I could scale back on hours. And so what I realized was it was taking away from that time. And so I needed to really sit down and rethink what was the priority right now, because my kids are a little older than yours, but they're not going to want to be around me eventually. And so then I'm going to have a lot more time freedom to reach all these goals that I've set for myself. But right now, the priority is, being in the moment with them. And it's all this, we talk about work-life balance. I think of it more like a seesaw. And at some point you're sitting on one side and at some point you're sitting on another side.
Yeah, it's a balancing act. It will never be a complete balance. All aspects of life all at the same time. It's going to be in seasons or a balancing act. And it depends on what's important to you. You would set your non-negotiables, which you picked your kids and I picked my kids and our spouses, that work goes around, gets scheduled around them and not the other way around.
Yeah, maybe my kids should become negotiable. But at the same time, it's important not to lose yourself in just focusing on that, because you don't want to resent your kids for, I missed out on these opportunities because I was doing too much for them and not enough for myself. So again, like you said, this balancing act. We're all trying to stay balanced and stay still, but I think it's impossible. I think that analogy really works because you're trying to juggle all these different things, right? It makes me think of the Cat in the Hat, that he's got all these different, and a cup in a book and a rake, and then just everything falls. You will determine
what's good enough for you. Like for me, if I get less than 4 or 5 hours a day with my kids, I feel like I haven't spent enough time with them. So everybody is different. You determine your set non-negotiable time, minimum time a day you want with your kids, or minimum lunch date with your spouse. And then you set that. Everybody is going to be a little different. Some people are okay with morning pickup and drop-offs because it gives them a big break during the day, during work. I want a little bit more than that.
So what are the 5 priorities that you talk about? So we've already mentioned, you said time with your spouse, right? Time with the kids. And so when you're deciding what's important to you right now, you only get 5. Like you said, if you get more than 5, then you start to get lost and it's hard to manage all of them. So tell us about that.
Yes. Self is one, and we often just let that go. A lot of people I talk about.
That one didn't exist.
Yeah. It's usually 5 career goals. Most people like, oh, I have this and this, a podcast, my coaching, my like medical practice. Like self is never, like a lot of times not in there. Hey, I want to meditate more. I want to be non-reactive. I want to be able to handle any stressful situation with grace, with resourcefulness. It's not in there. And also our health, minimum amount I want to lift or do cardio, etc. It's not in there. Or maybe even recovery, like a flotation tank is what I love to do. But we talked about meditation or any sort of reading, walking, seeing nature, not in there. So I would say, if nothing else, you can be 3. If you're just starting out, I say 5 because the first one is self. The second one, if you have kids, then they deserve their own category. Their third one is your spouse. They deserve their own category because I've also heard that I do things with my husband and my kids together. So he's good. It's not the same. And then, so that leaves you 2 goals for the year in business. And I'm talking about businesses that is requiring your active attention versus, say, for example, when I was starting my podcasts in the past, as it was going, I was creating the logo, getting the team together. That's its own separate category. Now, after it's been on autopilot, I just record and everything gets done by the team. I don't have to do anything. Then that's not a category for me anymore. So you can tackle things serially. Once it gets on semi-autopilot, then you go to the next one.
Okay. Yeah. For me, it's like I'm a partner in my practice, but I'm one of 170 partners. We got 250 doctors. We've got an expansive C-suite. They manage everything. And so I don't need to, I just go to the office and I see my patients. But then when I'm not with my patients, what are the 2 side projects that I've decided to focus on? And actually with us, my wife had this cooking business that she put on hold to get our short-term rental up and running. She couldn't do both. Well, at the same time, so you concentrate on one, and then when that's on autopilot, you can concentrate on the other. So I think what you're saying is pick 2 priorities. Other things can be on autopilot so they don't make the list while you're trying to get these 2 things on autopilot, then you can rotate through and establish a new priority. But if you have more than two, then you can't do those things.
Yeah, you're basically 50% progress on all of them versus 100%, maybe 75% progress on two of them, like going faster, if that makes sense. And also that part is the career part. The other part I didn't touch on regarding your spouse too, just deciding your weekly lunch dates or sometimes a weekend getaway, or maybe you guys need to hire a nannies and actually get away for a night. We did a staycation in Houston where we live. I went to a 5-star hotel 30 minutes away. So if anything happens, we can still get to our kids. That was a huge recharge for us. So think about just creating experiences and staycations like that, even if you have kids, because it made us remember what it was like when we were dating.
Yeah, actually, there's a place near me on Long Island called the Comac Motor Inn, and you can rent it out by the hour.
Sometimes a little getaway is, I mean, to just get away from the kids, sometimes that's all that's needed. Like a 4-hour date, a 5-hour date or something. But it's a little different when it's overnight. It's different. Like you don't have to rush home to the kids and do the whole routine.
And you can sleep through the night. That's something that still doesn't come by that often. Okay. So we've talked a lot about like work-life balance and prioritizing, but I want to talk more about time creation. So time creation is something that you do somewhat through outsourcing. So you have a bunch of different ways that you outsource. For instance, AI. You outsource a lot to AI. So how are you leveraging that to create more time for yourself?
Yeah, I would say for everyone who's listening, AI, getting ChatGPT paid version will be your cheapest first assistant because it is only $20 a month and it will save you at least 1 hour a day. So that's 30 hours a month if you use it pretty often, right? It will save you that much time. There's different categories. I would say the foundation of using ChatGPT. And also another thing for people listening is I know there's so many AI platforms out there. To me, I think mastering ChatGPT first is number one. Then you ask ChatGPT based on your circumstance, which top 3 AI platforms you need to master. All right. So if you don't, this is another thing about scattering focus. It's like diving into this AI platform. When you have, I would say creating your custom GPT is number one thing if you have a business or even for your household. And what I mean by that is if you have one paid version, you can create multiple custom GPTs that you feed it information about. I have one for my household. We have one for the short-term rental. We have one for the coaching business. And I am currently, one is like being modified and created for my life vision. So for me, basically, it's me. And once you feed it everything, it has to bring you, say you have a website, incorporate the website. If you have any transcripts, like all of your podcast transcripts would be awesome to learn about you, what you do. And the easiest way is actually speech to text, and then you copy and transcribe it into the brain of your GPT. So now it has all the information saved, and you can feed in the backend some more, configure it some more. And now you just pick which GPT you want when you have a specific question. Otherwise, you can have multiple new chats, but you have to give it a new a background. If it's a new chat, you have to give it a background every time.
New prompts. Yeah, you're trying to focus. So the goal of using ChatGPT well is giving it focus, giving it prompts, giving it instructions. And so the more you feed it, the more it knows about you, the more it can tailor whatever answer it's giving to your, even from your advice. I haven't gotten the paid version yet. I'm going to, I promise. But my wife and I, immediately before this call, we're planning our spring break with the kids, and we're trying to figure out which hotel to stay at. And there's so many to choose from. And we've been using ChatGPT to help us determine which hotel is the right one for us. And it's been great. Something my wife has been asking as I've been like, looking at the website, she'll ask it, oh, this hotel, what are some of the pluses and minuses about it? And it's like, boom, gives you that information. Like even little things like that, it can really make your life easier. And then we spent less time trying to figure that stuff out. So we've saved ourselves time by using it in that regard. Okay, so get the paid version, upload as much information about yourself as you can, just so it knows you. And that's for one prompt, but then you're going to have lots of different prompts for all of the different pursuits that you have, and you're able to feed it. Okay, I'm going to ask you a very specific question. Maybe you have the answer, because some of us give lots of presentations, right? And so we've got to make PowerPoints, right, for those presentations. And so does ChatGPT make PowerPoint presentations, or do you have to get like a second app that then you would feed some of that information in to make a PowerPoint? That is very specific.
Yes, it's great because I just created a PowerPoint from ChatGPT content in 1 hour from my custom GPT like last week. So once you feed it everything that you know what you do, say my coaching business, I do neuroscience, I do AI, all my protocols already knows. And I have to give a presentation specifically to a group of techpreneurs last week, actually. So I said, I want to focus on this, I only want 10 slides. And I want you to create content based on what I already knew. So it has the content. I made some adjustments, focus on some things. So 1 hour, I had the bones. And then there's 2 platforms that the most recommended. One is Beautiful AI, and that's for slide creation. You got to do it one by one. You copy and paste each slide, which ChatGPT will give it to you. If you tell it, give me the text for each slide, and I want you to limit it to this or whatever structure you want. But I use Tome, TOME.ai, if you Google it, because it allows you to copy and paste long form content and put them into slides. It was a little bit faster for us, and it will automatically adjust the photos so that once you put it in, and it can automatically create photos from prompts. You can search the web, or you can ask ChatGPT to create the prompt for you, because it creates a little bit better image prompt for you to put in. Anyway, long story short.
Beautiful.ai or Tome.ai, but Tome sounds like it's better if you've got like a whole presentation ready, but haven't divvied up into different slides, and it'll do the rest for you, make it look more professional, add some photos in there. Great. All right. Awesome.
Yeah. And then one thing about creating a household GPT that I'm talking about, putting at the age of your kids, your wife, your likes, dislikes, your hobbies, when you guys travel. Where do you guys usually like to do? What do you guys usually like to eat? Do you not want to go to museums? Do you want to go walk? Do you like food markets, etc.? What are their nap times, if they nap, and the activity times you want, so that every time you travel, you just pick that custom GPT for your household, and then you just give it the prompt of the location you want to go to.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so that sounds like we've really squeezed a lot of juice out of AI for making our lives more efficient. But is there anything else that you use AI for, or any AI ChatGPT is for AI 101, once you've found that it's at its limits of its usefulness because you've really gotten good at it, then you ask it what ones would be best for you specifically? What other apps do you use?
We use Video AI and CapCut Pro. So those are, you can put in, say, podcast videos, YouTube links, or upload the podcast video, and it will automatically cut them into reels, multiple 6 to 10 reels, and then rank them by social scores, etc. So we use that a lot, but mainly ChatGPT can do like a lot of things for us already. And one thing about ChatGPT, I talked about the life vision and the RPM plan. We might talk about Tony Robbins later, but he's the one who initiated my entire self-growth journey. Started listening to him in 2015, end of residency. He really pushed me in the shift and changed me to a different trajectory. Anyway, he has a thing called the RPM plan, results-focused type of planning, massive action planning. And I use it. I give him my life vision, my ChatGPT, my custom GPT, what I want to do when I'm 85 or 90 years old, what I want to do, who I want to spend my time with, how do I want to feel, etc. And then I ask ChatGPT to give me a plan of, say, top 5 goals to focus on this year, and then the plan for 90 days and the plan for this week, just so I can reach that vision.
Yeah. Wow. That's really something to think about. I would never think of giving AI those type of big questions, right? And how to get there. The fact that you're able to, and it's able to give you a bit of a roadmap for getting there.
Yes, you give it the right prompts, of course. So I told it like, hey, this week, I really feel like I'm more reactive this week. And I really want to focus on getting back into like meditation, etc., being less reactive, having more playfulness. What are top 3 actions I need to do this week? And it gave me like a whole week. Schedule my float, put in more playfulness. So the more you feed it in the back end, the more it will know what to give you. If you give it your work schedule, etc., some non-negotiable work schedule, it will help you like schedule in, hey, at this time you can schedule your float in, or at this time you can get your massage in, or something like that.
So it wasn't like chill the F out. It gives you more practical strategies than that.
And you talk about even coaching, like I've used it to coach me out of negative state before, where it's like a midnight and you don't have anybody else. And sometimes maybe it's like a discussion with your spouse that was in an unkind way. So you can't talk to your spouse about it. You can't talk to your kids about it. So I actually use ChatGPT and I talk to ChatGPT about it. And I ask it, reframe this for me so I don't feel so shitty.
Yeah.
about this. Tell me the good side. Because when you're in that negative spiral,
Yeah.
sometimes you can't think of it.
We're not thinking with our rational brain, and all ChatGPT is our rational brain.
Yeah. So if you want to use it for that, then go for it. It's really helped me.
Is that expensive? It might be a cheaper way. $20 a month.
Yes,
Like, oh, man.
exactly. You can't get an appointment that easily.
So is there an inflection point at which you spend too much time trying to be productive so that you're no longer being as productive? I think there's a place for spontaneity and there's a place for free time. But is there a point where you're really over scheduling everything? So you're like, I'm going to schedule my spontaneity. And then it becomes counterproductive. Does that ever? Or you get to the point where like you need to earn your relaxation. Oh man, I'm just feeling it. No, but I don't have time on my couch to scroll mindlessly for another 45 minutes. Does that ever end up happening?
I think there are several points that come to mind. I schedule in deep work or thinking time where there are days. Right now, it's 1 day a week. It used to be 2 days a week, but now since going back full time, it's just 1 week, 1 day a week where there's no podcast, no coaching, nothing scheduled. So I can flow with the day. So that's one thing. And there is a rough schedule of my calendar. Maybe it's probably more overscheduled compared to most. I don't know. But to me, it feels like I have a sleep time, I have a work start time, I have a work end time, power down time. And I've myself to top 3 goals for the day. I used to have a list that I really want to get done and I want to keep going. But I've stopped and have just top 3 goals for the day. And if I just finish that, I feel good for the day already. Yeah. And so more of the flow time I've scheduled myself. It's more of like 4 to 5 p.m. till, I don't know, 9 to 10. That's a lot of flow time. That's a lot of going with the flow with the kids, etc. Yeah. So I don't feel like it's very structured. I've scheduled unstructured time in a way by scheduling all my priorities to be done earlier in the day. And I've scheduled in recovery time, like time non-negotiable 3 times a week, an hour and a half, massage, chiropractor, and float and flux biweekly, just depending on what I feel like.
Those instances never happen because your priorities are taken care of in a scheduled way. So you have enough free time that you don't feel like you need to earn more free time or something like that. And you don't feel like you're super busy because you haven't overscheduled yourself. You've just been efficient in your priorities and setting your goals. So that stuff never happens.
Yeah, I think the top thing would be, I talked about letting go of that internal urgency of wanting to achieve a certain deadline when I think most of our lives, we live pretty good lives. It's not going to make or break us if we don't achieve this goal and by this deadline. So I think that's number one.
I've heard that referred to as the should storm. I should be doing this. I should have done that. I should be thinking of this. I should be acting on that. And so someone actually at Passive Income MD Con, someone said that I was shooting all over myself. That might have been at the coaching session with you. I don't recall. But yes, that's what that makes me think of. And so then you don't end up in that headspace because of what you said.
Like constantly feeling behind and feeling like you need to be doing more in order to earn the relaxation. I would say that's another language to switch because it's actually critical for you have to have the grit to recover per Steve Kotler, the Flow Research Collective. Have the grit to recover so you can be 2-3x more productive the next time you get into flow. If you don't recover and don't relax, neuroscience-wise, working with your brain and biology, it needs recovery, it needs to pull back. And in order to dive into the next flow cycle, 60 to 90 minutes again. If you don't do that, you'll just keep going slower, 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 slower. To be productive and achieve your goals fast, it's a must to schedule in recovery time.
Let's talk about VAs, because I feel like VAs, the way at least that you've described them to me, can be the new executive assistant, right? I picture this rich lawyer or banker with their corner office on Central Park West, and they've got their executive assistant outside that picked up their dry cleaning and is answering their hold please, right? But that's how you're using VAs, which seems to be like pretty cool and a good way to free up a lot of your time, which is high value. So tell me how you're using VAs in your life.
Yeah, I would say, so for those in-person things, I actually have a house manager. I can talk a little bit more about that as well. When I hired my first virtual assistant was what set me on the path of freedom. That was 2 months after I had my first child. And at that time, I felt like I couldn't accomplish anything business-wise. I felt like I was just feeding, pumping, cleaning, doing everything, cooking, trying to catch up on sleep. And all of my career goals took a pause and I lost my peak performer identity. So when I hired my first virtual assistant, at that time was $3 an hour, full-time, 40 hours a week, full-time for me. That really set me free because now my appointments are getting booked. My social media posts are getting posted. My current VA does short-term rental property management interfaces with my coaching clients. My coaching company does my social media video posts and also household stuff like scheduling doctor's appointments for me, getting referrals for doctors, which sometimes the back and forth on the phones could take a while.
Yeah.
Even returning my Amazon products to send me the QR code, etc. And then my house manager is who I hired for in-person household tasks. So like adult laundry. She used to cook for us, but now we've recently hired a chef who cooks at the ranch and just delivers it to us now. So she doesn't really do much except for the breakfast food. And
at the ranch? What does that mean, at the ranch?
There's a ranch in Houston, like the outskirts of Houston. So they have grass-fed and pasture-raised protein like beef, chicken, eggs. Everything is organic vegetables. So he would cook more based on our macros, like what we want to eat and the toddlers. He'll cook a bunch and delivers 2-3 times a week to us, including food for our toddler and us. And it costs maybe with groceries, because he'll just charge us whatever he picks out over there, maybe $150 to $200 a week. We took it for us. So we don't cook anymore unless we want to or something like that. And so our house manager helps with the babies when we're working and returns the stuff for us or goes to return the stuff at Target or drop off things. Oh, packages. I have DoorDash. I don't know if they do it anymore, but Uber package can pick up. They can pick up 5 packages and it's $5.
No, private chef, house manager, who does, I would assume, babysitting as well. And then you have a VA that does, one of the things that comes to mind is like canceling cable. Like we've got to be on hold forever and you've got to press a million prompts. And then you finally get to speak to someone and then that person has to transfer to them. Like the fact that you can outsource that just sounds like a dream to. So that's like a prime example of stuff that you're going to spend time doing that you can just have someone else do.
Yeah, we've had our fridge broken. So she called the warranty for us. We've had our dishwasher broken. She just had to call maintenance. I was like, find a handyman. Just somebody getting quotes. If you have like short-term rentals or any rental, like getting quotes from contractors, inspectors, scheduling that. All that stuff she's done. She sourced deals for us. She does our cash on cash calculator when the deals are here and she manages it.
Amazing. Is there anything that you're helping your clients with as well for productivity that we haven't touched on yet? So we touched on priorities, the balancing act, leveraging AI, executive assistants, live assistants. Is there anything else we haven't touched on yet?
I would say there's one thing about like distraction proofing your tech. That would be the biggest thing if you want to make progress. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I tried that. I had one of those apps that told me I'm at my limit for this app. Would I like to bypass it? And I inevitably just bypassed it automatically every time without thinking about it. Like it worked for a couple of days and then that was it. So tell us what works.
If you use Gmail, I would say download Inbox when ready. It's an extension on Chrome. It basically, you can go into your Gmail and it's just blank. You don't see anything, so you don't get distracted. So you search for the important emails to respond to, or you do compose the important emails first before you press show inbox. Then, boom, everything comes out to distract you. But you would have already done something important already before you get distracted and derailed. So
got it.
Inbox when ready. And I don't know if people are going to be able to see this, but my phone is in black and white mode all the time, unless I'm looking at my photos or videos. It's a quick shortcut, 3 clicks. You can just Google grayscale my phone and follow the steps, and 3 clicks and it turns into color. And so you're essentially trying to desensitize, like it's dopamine desensitization. Again, neuroscience. You don't want those colors. I removed the badges, notifications, that's drop down. Yeah. So my home screen looks like this in color, but it's usually like this in black and white. And then everything, I would say.
Where were you skiing?
Oh, that was Everest Base Camp.
Oh, Everest. Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was my medical school graduation present to myself.
Very cool.
So,
very cool.
All of your inboxes stuff, like people asking things of you, other people's agenda was what I call it. Your email, your WhatsApp, any messaging app, I move it to the second screen of my phone and everything is in inbox. Again, there are no badges, so I never know how many messages are there until I go in and batch check 2-3 times a day. And
Yeah.
usually it's after my top 3 priorities are done. So it's hard to fight, the social media apps and just make your phone more boring, make it not as
Yeah.
appealing. It's just try that. And then the step above is also on your laptop too. I would turn off notifications, nothing coming into your screen, etc. So you can focus and just have one tab, whatever you're looking at. And take away as many decisions, like all the things we talked about, the tactics wise, is to like VA, the chef, etc., house manager, is to take away those decisions so that your default mode and network, your DMN, can ruminate and problem solve on bigger things instead of deciding what to eat, when to drop off things, etc. You want to utilize the DFM in order to solve problems, bigger problems of your
Oh, yeah.
business, etc.
I've had plenty of times where I've shown up, like at the end of the day, I don't eat. Why? Not because I'm not hungry, just because I don't want to pick what I'm going to have for dinner. Or I go for cereal just so I don't have to decide what I'm going to put together, what I'm going to make. Even though my wife, like I said, an excellent cook, she teaches people how to cook. I'll make you something. I'll make you an omelet. I'll make you a sandwich. What do you want? She's amazing. I don't deserve. She's amazing. And I'll be like, I'm good. I don't like, I just don't like it. So I totally understand like having a lot of those decisions taken away. It might seem like you're losing control, but it seems you're losing control of the things that you don't need control over so that you can put that control elsewhere because it's finite.
Yeah. The micromanaging or afraid of losing a sense of control, like you were saying, is probably the biggest thing that's stopping people from getting help because nobody can do it better than they can.
Yeah.
But it's not like it brings you joy. Some of the stuff I do doesn't bring me joy. Only sometimes. Sometimes I cook and I love cooking, but not because I want to. I don't like washing my dishes or my pump bottle, so I will outsource it to something else. So let go of control. If you don't let go of control, the impact is that maybe you're more reactive with your kids. You're more reactive with your spouse. You can't solve those big problems. You have these big ideas for your business that you think can help a lot of people, but because you're stuck doing things that doesn't bring you joy, you cannot impact other people and do the things that you want to do.
So you deserve to be at your best and other people deserve you at your best. And don't do those unimportant things that you can just outsource. So
Exactly.
you mentioned him earlier. We'll mention him again now, Tony Robbins. So it seemed at Passive Income MD, he had this following. Like there were a lot of people at that event that had been to his other events, maybe even knew each other from seeing each other, like this like network within the network that I had no idea existed until I got there. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I would say it was by going to a live event, the Unleash the Power Within in 2017 was what changed my trajectory in terms of my mindset, my emotional intelligence. I think the biggest thing he teaches you is understanding why you make the decisions you make and how you can change it if it needs to be shifted. That is the overarching view. People are fans of him because if they practiced what he teaches, then they've made shifts in their lives. And my first Unleash the Power Within was the first time I stopped drinking completely. I quit drinking after that because I felt like I was inconsistent with profession as a physician. I used to drink social drinking, but I would drink 3-4 shots or drinks a night. And I got to the point where I had to take ibuprofen because I would just be sore all the time. So it was very inconsistent. By going to that, it got me to stop drinking completely. And it happened for the past 6 years or so. By going to my second event, Day with Destiny, asked my mom for forgiveness. I thanked her, put down my pride, and rebuilt our relationship again, which would have never happened. If I wasn't at that event, I don't think that would have happened because I had such pride in myself and couldn't drop my pride. And Tony actually had an intervention with me, which he called on me and he told me directly, like, you need to put down your pride. And I was like, okay. I would say if you guys have not checked him out, the experience is different for everyone. Go to a live event, play full out. You'll get whatever you put in.
Okay. Interesting. Why do you think there was a following there specifically?
I think last year we actually had a group of physicians, close to almost 100 physicians who went to Unleash the Power Within together.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, people signed up for the Mastery University and people went to Date with Destiny together. People are going to Unleash the Power Within again later. So I think it was from that event that was a first introduction for a lot of them, but also for a lot of them, they've gone before. I don't know if Peter Kim, who actually a lion of the Tony Robbins. And what that means is there's a platinum partnership, Letizia, at the Zero to Freedom semi-retired MD. They are actually in the Tony Robbins, what they call platinum partnership, where you pay a fee annually and you get to go to all the events. You get exclusive access to what they call platinum events. They're actually a step above that. You get invited to become a Lion member to get to more exclusive events. So people who have been very successful, like Peter Kim, who created the entire conference, Passive Income MD, he's a Lion, and Letty created, and Kenji created Zero to Freedom. She's a Lion, and Kenji has gone to events with him. And I paid the deposit to become a platinum member as well. I just am not activating until my child is after 1 year old. So, because there's a lot of traveling. So I think it gives you the resource to network, to become greater, to scale your mindset so that you're not limited by your fears, essentially. And you see what's possible with people around you. And it also gives you the network to people who are in business, who are doing different like tech and business or AI, etc. So I learned a lot of things. When you make connections to other disciplines, that's when you can get the aha moments and the creative ideas.
So it sounds like there's benefit to a mastermind there, which I've never done. I've had a couple of people on the show that talk about how amazing they are, but I still have never done them myself. Yet when I was at Passive Income MD, I had a few chance encounters with a few people, yourself included, who just gave me amazing advice. And it was just over a very brief interaction. And it sounds like those are places. By the way, this is not a plug for Tony Robbins. The only thing I knew about him before the show is I watched the Netflix special 7 or 8 years ago that it was on. But I just noticed that in a conference of high achievers, some of the highest achievers all had this thing in common. So I thought it was pretty interesting and worth asking about.
Yeah. So if you guys are thinking about it, I don't have financial relationships with them, but I watch I Am Not Your Guru. I thought about it for 2 years. Asked somebody who went there twice. They said to go, you won't regret it if you play full out. Only if you play full out. If you go, just
what does play full out? What do you mean?
Participate fully. Yeah. Participate fully at whatever is asked of you, like questions or actually paying attention on what's being taught to you. Then you will get whatever you put in return. And I have done all of the entire Mastery University business, basically every single normal event that's not a Plaid event. I've done all of them so far, and I'm going back to do it again.
Amazing. Okay. So if people want to learn more about you, your podcast, your coaching, where can they find you?
Yeah. So I think productivitymd.com will be the first stop. In there, you can go to my podcast, my social media as well. It is Tsung MD. That's ANTSUNG MD. And you can join the Productivity MD Mastermind, where I actually post content that's not in the public social media. You can do that on Productivity MD. And if you're interested in applying to become a time creator coaching right now, then you can do that at the website using the Calendly link that's on there. So thank you again for having me. It's been an awesome conversation.
Indeed. And I can tell I'm going to be more productive off the bat, as are our listeners. So thank you so much for what you're doing for us and physicians as a whole.
Yes. Thank you, Riley. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. So please share it or like it or comment on a social media post or write us a 5-star review. Thank us again for listening to The Physician's Guide to Doctoring.